So now we are going to see basics are completed, hooks concepts completed, and a bit of ADO.NET with the database functionalities. Here we included a couple of controls, properties, events. And whatever code we implemented, the complete code is in code behind only. I mean that design and code in one application. So now what is our idea? So we have three different styles. One is design in one application, code is in another application, and the second style is design and code in one application. We can use design and code in other applications. So here design in one application is in the sense it is for Windows forms, daily whatever we are doing, that is. Code only you need to make separate. So this is for coding. Here is library. The template name I am writing here. This is a class library. And design in code in one application. This is, we call it as Windows Forms Control Library. So once you created the library, that we can use it in Windows Forms. So either you can write the code here, you can use the code in Windows, or you can create the design and code in one library. You can use that application in Windows Forms. So here we have seen one template, Windows Forms. Now we will observe the class library and Windows Forms Control Library difference. So what is class library? So the first, we need to understand what is the use of class library. The class library is create business logic in one application to make the DLL.cs files are created as DLL. So already you have idea of C language. Everyone has idea. So .h files we can observe there. Hash include stdio.h. So that is a header files which are built in. So we cannot see what the code they have written behind. So now here we don't want to show our code to anyone, and we need to hide our logic so that we can apply the .cs files as DLLs. So now the code should not run automatically. You need to apply this code in any application. You can add as a library. That means DLL files you can use to Windows Form. And the same DLLs you can use for web form. Okay, so either you can use to Windows and you can use to web, even you can use to console also. can write here. Only small difference for class library and Windows Forms control library. Here we can observe half party is designing Windows Forms and the remaining half of the party is library, it means control library. So this Windows Forms control library equals to Windows Forms designing as well as class library logic. So whatever design wherever you want, again you can create the design plus, and wherever you want the library. So you don't want show the code also, then you can use a library. That means once you have idea on Windows Forms and class library, then you can easily to create your own controls for Windows Forms control library. So if anybody is asking like how you're going to hide the code in .NET, so then we can prepare as a DLLs, dynamic link libraries. From the library, we can hide the code. They just use an objects, create the objects for the classes, and they can call the methods. They can send the parameters and receiving the output. But if you want to add any special controls to the toolbox, which is not satisfy our requirement by the Microsoft built-in, we need to apply for every project the same type of functionalities. For that, we have to create our own controls, add the controls to the toolbox, and we can use it. So now, before going to see these things and all, we can have some idea of properties. What is a property? Daily you are using properties: height, width, color, either it is background or foreground color. So here every property has two blocks. The two blocks are get and set. One is get, the other one is set. It is read-only block and it is called as write-only block. If both has written, that is a complete property. So here three questions rise. How we can make the property as read-only? That means a property has a block called as only get. How the property for only write-only? A property has only set block. That means what is exactly the property? Daily we are using text box text, label text, and label for color, text box background color, something like that. So how it is internally specified? So we are going to use this property in all the applications. So first access specifier we can use public, and then return type. The return type is string. And then what is a property? You want the text, give the name as text. If you want a color, for color property, so the property name is for color. So you give the name of the property here as for color. And what data it is returning to the front end, you can mention here the type. I am giving the color. So color is a return type. And we are giving integer or boolean. So depends on the checked property, true, false. At that time return type is boolean. So here we can say different type of property. Regular property, sorry, the common property is string, text property. So what we are saying, text box text, that means what? Internally it is going to take the text as well as return the text. So here these two blocks should be right inside of this get and as well as set. So now we are not doing any calculations, just we can assign the value and as well as we are going to get the value from this. Here we can assign text property equal to value. So whatever they are sending from the front end, that is what we call it as value. Now what we are going to do here, return text. So now which value they are assigning here, that value will be returned back to them. That means what, if I am going to say is that text box text, say for example txt username dot, we can assign here as text equal to. So we are assigning a value to which property, text property. So now here we just is that .NET. This is a text we assign to the text property. Now this text property is going to compare here. So what we are giving equal to means we are assigning. Assigning in the sense set block will run. Whenever we want the value back, so again we can say something like message box dot show. Show me the message box, that particular value. Message box dot show of txt username dot text. So we are calling again that text property. That means what value earlier we are assigned here, the value we are taking back. For this we need to use get block. So this will going to run internally set block, and this will be going to run internally get block. Set block and as well as get block. So now we are going to take the values from the front end to the library, and as well as we are return the values from this. Now we cannot use this public property here. Internally we just use string text box text. It is a private variable. Now this variable only we are going to assign the value. Now return the value. So internally the data is protected. The data should not be exposed to outside. So once we have assigned the data, it is going to call explicitly this property, but that property should not going to take directly the value and sending back. So due to the security reasons, we need to use internal private variables. This private variable is going to take the value and as well as it is returning the value, but these values are associated with this property. So that's why this property is not taking directly value and is sending back the value. Indirectly, the data should be available here. But whenever the user is called, due to this blocks, it is going to get the value as well as set the value. Okay. So now we will see libraries and control libraries, both the two. So now whatever business logic we have seen here, that business logic we can prepare as a separate library. So open Visual Studio. So now we can create a new template, new project. Select class library. Now here you can observe a project for creating a C# class library DLL. So now we can assign here book library, any name you can give. And we can create a book library, and this is a class library. So always you need to remember it's not having any coding, so designing. So this is a toolbox. The toolbox is empty. Empty means we can't design anything here. Only the business logic we need to reuse. Create the code in one application. Wherever you want the same logic again and again, you can use it. So here the class library. namespace name, and then class name. So here the class name we can change, rename. Here we can say books details. Yes, book ID we are passing, and it is going to give all the details wherever we need it. Now here in this ID, PROP, it is a shortcut for creating the property. Just press tab 2 times. Then it is creating automatically public int property. Okay. And general procedure, how to write public. I'm giving a row of information, or we have many rows like a table. So we can assign here as data set. Now get books. So this is a name of the method. Always we are receiving the value here. Either you can use a property or you can use a parameter. If you can use a property, you can call from the front end. Now here we will do both, and this is integer. We are receiving book ID from the front end. Now based on this particular book ID, we will give the results back to front end application. So already we have seen the functionality in code behind search books. Book code, double click. This is text changing. Book ID is coming and we are returning the book details. It is connection oriented architecture. Now this is disconnected architecture. Connection. Now book ID is receiving. So now book ID is going to mention like this. So we are sending the book ID. So based on the book ID, whatever fields the database is returning, that we are going to sending back. Here there is no text boxes, so we cannot say this is a text box values and all. So now either you can use data reader, the same type of functionality. Then we can say here the return type is a row is coming to the front end. What return type is there? The same return type we can use here, and there we can receive the details. So this if condition and whatever the values we are assigning, that all the things are not available. This, and we cannot close the connection also. Okay, but if it is a disconnected architecture, it will automatically closes the connection and automatically open the connection. So that is the reason here we can say that SQL data set. Once we pass the, no need of open any connection. SQL data adapter object name equal to new data adapter. Now this is our command text. So data adapter is going to accepting here command. So wherever the command is there, that we can assign here. So this is the command stored procedure name, and it is having the book ID, take the details, and which data it is returning from the front end. Data set ds equal to new data set. Now here return ds. Until that it is showing some error. If you haven't written any return statement, it is showing in a red color mark. You are not returning any value. So now take the data from the front end, fill it, and then display. Return of DS. Send the information, fill the data, return the data. So now the name is get books. Build it. Once we build this particular project, you can observe in a bottom D drive, USA, Vinay, book library. In this book library, bin folder, debug folder. Now this class file is converted to what? A library, means the DLL. So in which location you created the application, it is going to showing that library over here. This is. Now we need to add this library to our front-end application. So this is a library path. Now here, go to this application. There, one more form we can add with the disconnected architecture. Select the Windows form. This is for FRM search from library. Click on add. Now we have our own libraries. These are all Microsoft has given. Select references, right click, select add references. There, already the previous DLLs what we used. Now we can select browse here. There, which location we already pointed that we can assign here. My library is available in D drive, USA Vinay, application name, book library, bin folder, debug, library. So now once we click on add, that books library will be adding to here. Now we can click on OK. Now we can observe that this is a library. Which name we have given, that library will come over here. So now we can reuse. This group box, here we can assign. Now double click on this particular text box. Or we can, because every time, every key press, it will come. Search the ID and then click on go. Common controls button. This is go. Select the font. Just change the background. So now this is the go button. Property event. While we added the controls here, double click. Now we don't want to write any code here. No connection, no command, nothing. Already we created that one in library. That library we added to here. Now here using what library we created? Books library. So this is our namespace, library base. Now from this base, we have written inside one class. Book library is a namespace. This is a namespace. Now we have a class, call it as books details. Now that class we can take here, books details. object name equal to new, books details. So now this object is pointing to this particular project here. Now the cursor is here. Now what we have to do, we have written one method called it as getBooks, and we send one parameter. Now here it is expecting books object name dot, what is the method name? getBooks. Now in this particular getBooks, we can receive the value. The value is book ID txt, book ID dot text. But the syntax, it is expecting, you can observe here, data set, that is a return type, name of the class, books details, name of the method, getBooks, and it's receiving one ID, int book ID. So now this text is going to return string information. Now the string has to convert to int. So here we can say int dot parts of, this is a text box, text will be converted to int. Now what this method is returning? This method is returning dataset information. How many rows will come? Only one row. So for that, what we can say here, dataset ds equal to new dataset, an empty memory buffer area we creating, and there it is returning the rows here. Now we will take the information. Now what we have to do, we have a text box, name dot text equal to, and one table of data is coming from there, and exactly we know only one row is coming matched with the book row, so rows of 0. Now what is a column? First column book ID, second column book name, third column cost, fourth column quantity. So now you can observe what this stored procedure is returning. Already we have seen use this GUI books DB. Here is a master. Now if you are asking this is a stored procedure, show me, it will give an error. Now once we can say use books DB, it is automatically changes to database here. Now what this stored procedure exactly having? SP underscore type text. Show me what is the stored procedure I have written inside. So execute this. Now it is showing here we have created one procedure. Now 0 column book name, 1 column cost, and 2 column quantity. So totally 3 columns are coming based on the book ID. Now whatever book ID is there, whether it is executing successfully or not, we need to know that. We have given 1000. So we just run this particular 1000 is working or not. Yes. So what is this? This is the 1000 book ID details. Now 1001. So we can run like this. 1002. So records are changing. And now we giving some wrong ID, something like 1005. There is no data. So you can observe that what ID is giving the data and what ID is not giving the data. So how to see the stored procedure text what we have written from here to here, and how to run the stored procedure that we can apply like this. And while you are executing, always this stored procedure, how many number of parameters it is needed, that many number of parameters we have to pass. Maybe if it is asking 2 values, then first value comma some second value. So like this we can apply some test data and only run the values and stored procedure. Then what output we are expecting from the database, that result should come over here. Okay, so now we'll see in the front end only one parameter. Now that parameter here has one row of information in that item array of 0. It is going to give the first cell, but here is text and this is object. You cannot convert object to string. Already we know any data type, if you want to convert to string, we just simply use dot to string. Now the same style we can assign for remaining. One is for txt price and the second one is for txt quantity. Remaining same, but this is second cell, second value, and this is a third value. So first cell means first column, second column value, third column value. So how many columns are coming from the backend? That many number of IDs we can use here. Now maybe if the number is wrong, then we can say here if dataset has table, no rows are there, count not equal to 0. At least one row is there, do this activity. If no rows are available, then we can assign here, else we can simply say that message box dot show up, enter valid book ID. So now we will see, keep it the breakpoint. And now we can run this form as a startup form. Net